Be gay, you know? How Irish do you want to get? You want to duck off over here behind this Subaru and fucking touch each other's warm kneecaps? How Irish you want to get? Because I saw some adult men with families getting real Irish. You know what I'm talking about behind the Shoney's kind of Irish. Because when I was young, they would have a lot of straight men would meet up behind the Shoney's and, you know, jerk each other off and do stuff like that. And then go back to their families. Because when I was young, you couldn't just, you know, it wasn't as, people who were gay couldn't openly be gay. And, you know, I think about that struggle sometimes or what that, could you imagine being something and not being able to be it? It's just, I couldn't imagine what that, you know, that pain of that. But then there was probably for a lot of gay men, there was that one day. Oh, here it comes. Put it on the calendar. March 17th. When all I got to do is put on a green shirt and I can gay the fuck out without any judgment. And look, man, I saw it in Tacoma. You think they are in Spokane. You think these men they out there, they hard heads and they living like this and that. They got 3 and 4 children. But they suddenly see another man who's looking hella Irish. And all of a sudden, I saw these 2 men just kiss face to face. And they could have been family. That's another thing. You got a hot cousin? You think your stepdaddy's cute? It's March 17th? Fucking slide him a note. Check yes or no, Papa. You know, that's the day. It should just be the day where anything goes. That's what they should start calling it. You know, let's get Irish. You know what I'm saying? If you a lady and you want to touch somebody up in the vulva, do your thing. Do that digit dance, you know? Get your carpals out. Get your carpals out and go through that brief filing cabinet. Do a little bit of vagiling. You know what I'm saying, boy? They only got 2 folders in that cabinet, boo-boo. But people are getting hella Irish, man. And it's a joyous day. And that's one thing, you know, I don't drink right now in my life. And that's one thing I miss is I do miss some day drinking. Because anything could happen when you're day drinking. Somebody jerk you off in a truck. You jerk yourself off somewhere. It's daytime. You know, it's like the wolves are out. It's almost like a full moon, but all day long. And that's what always St. Patty's was for me. That's what St. Patty's was for me, man. It was fun. Eating chowder and drinking beer and people puking. Adults crying. Man, I saw this one lady. She was probably 37. Just, you know, when you're crying so much, and she was trying to eat some, what did she have? A bag of, what are those chips? Those, they are like these little hats, these chips. They look like little bitty hats. Like you could put them on your finger and make 5 little hats. Or if they had a gnome and he was wearing like a little corn hat, you know, or a dunce, you know, like if they used to have these dunce hats. They were real tall V-neck looking hats, upside down V's, you know, hats. And if you were like a dunce, they would make you wear this dunce hat. But these little, what are they called? Bugles chips. And this lady had a sack of Bugles. And I don't know if you ever had these Bugles chips, but they absorb all the moisture in your mouth, so they dry you out. And this lady, boy, she was on some, she was making salt water. She was making salt water up there. She was just salinating out of her face, just wasted and crying. And that's something I love to see on St. Pat. I don't want that lady to have this pain or whatever she's going through, but it's alcohol induced. You know, she had on that big pink lipstick and all these different necklaces, you know, kiss me, I'm Irish. Fuck me, I'm Irish. You know, help me raise my kids, I'm Irish. She was getting out there extensively with some of her ideas, you know, based on the country, on this little island of Britain or Ireland. I don't know if it's an island. I don't know. Ireland. I could easily see somebody get confused and think they live in Jamaica, but everybody's white, you know. But yeah, this lady was bursting. She was just crying, just drunk crying and trying to eat these Bugles at the same time. At one point, I swear she was kind of dipping the Bugles in her tears so she would have enough moisture to get them Bugles down her gullet to gullet them bugles. And that was, that's Spokane, baby. People set it off and people came out. We had a great time, man. We had a great time over there in Spokane. But yeah, we should just say St. Patty's Day is the one day where if you're trying to bust a nut on somebody that's got the same genitalia as you, then you gone. Because to me, it gets more and more. It's not really green. It's got a little more rainbow in it. And you would see a lot of gay men. I remember last year in New Orleans, I was doing St. Patrick's Day down there with two of my good buddies. And you would see a lot of gay men out there, trying to dress real straight, wearing like, Beavis and Butthead t-shirts or, wearing, not turtlenecks, not looking real gay or wearing like kind of gay attire. And I know that, that's kind of a generalization. I'm not trying to say gay people look one way or whatever, but you know what the fuck I'm talking about. If you put a tracker on all the turtlenecks in America, most of them would end up on most of those trackers would lead you to the homes of gay men or Italians probably, or male librarians. So I'm playing the odds here. But they had a lot of, you'd see a lot of these men trying to look real straight, wearing like NASCAR t-shirts and shit, but also with the Irish beads. I'm Irish. Just trying to lock lips with some straight men who were out there letting their feelings loose. And that's how it happens. Next thing you know, your leg hair is all tangled up with another man's leg hair. And that's the bit, I've never felt an attraction to men, sensually. I have felt an attraction to men in the sense that I wanted more of a brotherhood in my life and I wanted to have more male friends, but I never felt that sensual attraction. And I think it's just like, because when I think about laying in bed with another man, the sex part, I mean, what I'm saying? You could wear a blindfold or, put on like some rodeo music. I mean, you could do some things maybe to get through some of the sexualness. But then to lay there and feel your leg hair tangle up with another man's leg hair, dude, that's when I'm out. That ain't that's when I know that for me, at this point in my life, that's not the road I'm looking to get down. Because what if you have real strong leg hair and your legs get locked up next to each other and your leg hair is all tangled up? That's something out there. That's real Irish. That's super. That's Irish. That is Irish. But I'm happy to be here with you guys, man. We had some nice people that came out in both of those cities. This was a call that came from Tacoma. I'm just going to play it. I'm going to keep going with things that are going on in my head. I want to include other people in this pod today. Here we go.
Hey, what's up, Theo? This is Jacob from Washington. Me and my girlfriend, we came out and saw you in Tacoma on Friday at 8. And man, I just want to say we had a great time, dude.
Thanks for coming out, Jacob, and thanks for bringing your lady. I did see a lot of couples that came out and a lot of couples that listen to the podcast together, and that's pretty cool, I mean, I don't know. I think that's a special thing. There's something special when you have somebody that you care about and you just do things together, whether it's a podcast or, whether you split them. You got a little bit of milk left in a jug and maybe you pour a little bit more in your girl's bowl when you cut yours with water, so you got that lean milk in yours, and it doesn't even look like milk. It looks a little squirrely, it looks like something that might have came out of a fucking weak ferret or something. But, and you sit there and you eat cereal together, or you consume a podcast together, something special. And I saw a lot of couples. I see a lot of couples, and I'm grateful for that. I appreciate it. Let's hear more, Jacob.
You were so fucking funny. I drove home, just stomach hurting from laughing so much, man.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it, man. We had some good times, dude. It was fun. It was a lot of fun.
But, yeah, man, I don't know if you noticed there was a pregnant lady there, and you made a joke about waiting for hot dogs instead of saving a baby, and dude, she was laughing so hard. I thought she was about to give birth right there, man. I thought you were going to do some premature childbirth, and that was wild.
Wow. So they had a pregnant lady out there, he said. And thanks, man. I didn't see her. You know, and usually I spot them, boy. You know what I'm saying? I used to do a little whale watching. That's what I call it. And it's usually, yeah, if you see that pregnant lady out there, you know, and I'm not saying pregnant women's is whales. You know, I ain't saying, but I'm saying that they caught that Moby Dick at one point, and now they gestating. And now they hiding little humans. Now they playing that hide and go seek game. But they got to count for 9 months before they find that little motherfucker between their legs. And I didn't see that. But that would be amazing, you know, if somebody, you know, you hit them with that right joke and then they squirrel out. You know, they squirrel out. And next thing you know, they got to buy another ticket because they got one more person sitting at their table. I did speak, you know, I mean, this is already, damn, dude, a lot of these episodes get a little bit gay, bro. But you know what? That's life. Sometimes life gets gay. Sometimes life gets gay. You know, I got hit by 2 gay men one time, and they hit me in a car. And you want to talk about things just being straight? Suddenly I'm in my world, chilling, riding, you know, maybe listening to some Alice in Chains or some TLC or something when everybody was alive. And then suddenly, bang, bang. And now these 2 dudes were outside of the car, man. And bro, if I had $1 for every time these 2 gentlemen touched me on the shoulder to ask me if I was okay, bro, I have about probably $16. But what I was getting at was one time I told a joke and some guy, you know, bless his heart, he laughed so hard he just came out of the closet in front of his buddies. He was just like, I'm gay. And his boys are like, what the fuck, Anthony? Dude, have another drink, you know? This ain't St. Patrick's Day. But thank you for calling, Jacob from Tacoma. We had one more call that came from Spokane from somebody in the audience. And these are nice, man. I appreciate this. These were just people that hit up the hotline. Here we go.
Hey, Theo. This is Natasha from Spokane. I brought a bunch of friends out to the show tonight. For a lot of them, it was the first exposure to your comedy, and we all had an absolute blast. So thank you for coming out. I can't imagine that a rainy St. Patrick's Day is the best first impression of the city, but hope you felt welcome, and let's have you back soon.
Thanks, Natasha. That was really sweet of you. You know, and I'm keeping things sweet. On my birthday, I'm keeping things sweet. You know, I got I know last episode I got a little bit down in the dumps about, you know, some of my career and stuff like that and where things are and what's going on in this industry. And, you know, I kind of was just, you know, it was just self-pity, really. You know, it was just self-pity. Because all I can do really is, you know, and I got an email from a burlesque. I got a friend that does burlesque down there in New Orleans. And you can follow them, I think, on Instagram. It's called Bust Out Burlesque. And they, and she hit me up and she said, look, you know, things are going on. That's what's going on. But you just got to do your shit. You know, you got to do your shit. And I appreciated that. I needed to hear that. You know, I needed to hear that if I don't stay positive, then my environment isn't positive. You know, I can't keep things classy around me if I'm not trying to show up classy. And I know I'm going to have my moments, you know, and we all are. We're going to have our moments where, you know, we can't do it every day. But if 5 out of 7 days I can do it, then I win that week. And I appreciated that message. But Natasha, back to your call, I had a great time. You know, I have a great time in places where, because it felt, you know, Spokane feels like a real place. You know, right when I get there, I went for a walk just to, you know, catch the vibe, see what was going on. You know, we went over to a park and they had the biggest red wagon, this Radio Flyer wagon was up. Somebody put it up there and they put it in a park and it's huge. It was one of the neatest things I've ever seen for children. And they, you know, and the kids can climb up the back. And I'm talking, this thing's 20 feet off the ground, maybe 18 feet off the ground. It's 20 feet, man. It's big. This thing is huge. I put it on my Instagram. It's huge. It was the most unique thing I'd ever seen in a park for children. And then the handle of this big Radio Flyer wagon, the handle of it is the slide. So kids are just sliding down that thing. And I noticed right when I got there, a couple kids, this one kid, he probably was, I mean, this kid couldn't have been but about 17 months old. He fucking hit that slide himself. And he just busted right off in. I mean, he skipped off the end of it, just skipped across the dirt like a rock. And it was probably about 6 seconds before a family member came and picked him up. And you know what I thought to myself? I fucking love this town. Because that's where I'm from. I'm not from where somebody, you sitting there and they got 9 family members. Everybody wearing Patagonia and everybody wearing, specialty perfumes and colognes. And your daddy smells like France every day. And everybody's catching you at the bottom of the slide. I'm from that place where you get to the bottom of the slide. That's when you find out who's at the bottom of the slide. That's when you find out what your local earth tastes like. When you get ahead of that nature, boy. And this 17-month-old man, this little dude, he looked fucking German, bro. He had good posture, but he popped off that thing and skipped off the ground about 6 times. Just like a little rock, just like a little white, Eastern, just like a little white European rock. He just skipped across that dirt. And I said, I love this place. There was people out there smoking cigarettes, but no children. Obviously, probably pedophiles. People filing out there, looking around. Because once you got up into the wagon, it was a huge wagon up top. So it was like 50, 60 feet by like 20 feet, where it looked like there's about 60 kids up there and some adults. And they had this one man, no children. You know what I'm saying? Not a cool look. You know what I'm saying? If you want to get lonely around adults. That's one of my rules, and that's one of the rules here on this past weekend. We don't get lonely around children because it's not fair to them. And because that's when things happen. So I didn't mean to say that kind of stuff, but that's what's going on. What else, man? What else happened this weekend? I went out there. I had a good time. It's my birthday. This week I was talking on stage actually about, my father. I talked about it last week, the first funeral I ever went to. And it was really, really sad, and then the more I got to thinking about it, I remember when I was really young, though, I had gone to a service in our town. And I guess, I don't know if at the time I realized it was a funeral. I was too young to know what was going on. And I was probably 7 or something. And my mother was out of town. My mother would travel and do deliveries and stuff regionally. So, she would have to get out and do, deliveries. She worked for, she delivered newspapers and magazines. She delivered, things to gas stations, anything they would sell at a gas station, anything from non-food items. So anything from a lighter to, sometimes they would have like birthday cards and stuff in there. Those little fart maker things, any type of weird shit, man. My mother was running it around, sorry, it was just, that's wild, to think, man, getting caught up here in my, it's wild to think that my mom would do that, to take care of us, that she's driving all around, just all around everywhere, just delivering bullshit, to provide for her kids, sorry, I think it's just because, it's my birthday. I don't mean to keep saying that, but I think it's just got me, thinking about what I'm doing here on earth and, that I wouldn't be here without my parents. You don't get here. That's how you get here. And it just hit me right there, thinking that my mother, having to leave her kids to just drive around a bunch of inanimate objects to make money. So, even though we've had some tough times in my life, I'm grateful for that. What was I talking about? We were talking about, so my mother would be out of town, and that means my father would have to take care of us. And my mom wouldn't let, we weren't getting a sitter when my dad was alive. We didn't get a sitter because my mom felt, fuck, I don't care if you're 77 years old, you got to take care of these fucking children. These are your children. And she would put it on him. So I remember something happened at school. a young kid, a young kid passed away, or maybe his brother, something happened. And our class went to a service, a funeral service. And my dad had to get me a suit. He had to get me a suit. It was his responsibility. And I didn't have a suit. I didn't have a suit. And so my dad, this is the same dad. I remember for Halloween one year, he was supposed to get my brother and I costumes, and he got us both Raggedy Ann. Both of us. So he just couldn't see that well. He couldn't turn his neck. This man was 77. And this was 77, 25 years, 31 years ago. This wasn't 77 now. 77 now, you got these dudes, you got these dudes shooting jumpers and, working on power lines. And, you got 77-year-olds that are, that are doing stunts and doing backflips in the park and, raping people. And you got crazy 77-year-olds out there, fucking buying swords and shit. You got real 77-year-olds out there now. But then 77, it was a little bit more like about 83. And even though my father, busted nuts, obviously, till pretty late, because that's how I got here. And I don't mean to be too graphic, but that's how I got here. To think that he, at 77, he was super crafty. He wasn't. Anyway, so he got me a suit, right? But the suit was, it was a costume. I guess he got it from like Spencer's Gifts. And this was a store back in the day where they just sold, kind of cool, fun stuff for kids and adults, like weird shit, some like sexual and some like just like crystal balls and like, those magic 8 balls and all kinds of fucking, fart rocks and danger taffy and just shit like that. Like you would chew it and it would turn your whole mouth blue or something, or, give your cousin AIDS or some kind of shit. But they had this, he got this suit, and I guess it was in the window or something, and it was a Beetlejuice costume. Remember that movie? So I didn't know any better. My dad said, we got the suit, you go into the thing. So I am at the service in a Beetlejuice costume, and everybody else is in regular little kid suit or a nice pant and shirt. And I got fucking cobwebs on my shit. And it wasn't even like a real suit. It was like a costume. It was just like a costume. And I just remember feeling like I didn't know what the fuck was going on in the world. Everybody else out there, they're mourning this, this local boy that had gone on. And here I am out here fucking repping Beetlejuice and looking like a damn, I don't know. But so that was just, that's what it was like. But that's who brought me into the world. A woman who was traveling around and dropping newspapers off to gas stations, and a man who bought me a Beetlejuice outfit so I could look professional at a funeral. And knowing my dad, he thought it was a suit. He probably, he's cheap. He probably thought, oh, here, I got a $14 suit. Let's put the boy in it. But that's life, man. That's life. I'm trying to think of a fun birthday that I had. I'm trying to think of a real fun one that I had. Oh, I remember this one. So a few years ago, this is about 10 years ago, 9 years ago, I don't know. I met up with this older lady. And this older lady was, she had one of them, they basically these magical crotches she could, you ever seen like a clown costume where they squirt you with that water thing? Where like, you touch their pocket and it's a flower that shoots you. She had that flower that shoots you, if you know what I'm saying. She could fucking water a cactus from about probably 8.5 feet away, she just had accuracy too. Just probably like damn, I'm talking like Jesse James with a mouthful of chewing tobacco. She could fucking, hit a spittoon probably at least 7 3/4 feet. But so I met this lady and I didn't know any of this about her. And she worked in she worked in casting. She was like a casting director or something. So I meet up with I invited her to a comedy show in Los Angeles. And she shows up, and I remember Jennifer Garner was at the bar downstairs, and I remember thinking, man, Jennifer Garner is fine as hell, and I've always thought, I mean, Julia Roberts was always like the one I liked the most, Gina Davis, who else? Oh, Jennifer Garner, who I first said, won't forget it, and then so we got So anyway, this lady shows up, and she's attractive. I didn't really realize how attractive she was. Because I just met her briefly. I went in and auditioned for something. She was a casting director. She thought I was funny. I said, well, you should come see me do comedy. She gave me her card, and I emailed her. I'm thinking, well, I got to have casting directors come see me if I want to work in this community, in this town. So she shows up, and the comedy show was the next night. I messed up. I brought her to a comedy show on March 18th, and the show was on March 19th. And there's nothing upstairs. There's no comedy upstairs. It's just nothing. So instead, we decided to get dinner downstairs at the room, at the restaurant. So she and I are eating dinner, and things are going swell. She break out some edibles. She had some edibles there. And these are early edibles. These were the ones where, somebody came in with a little sack of them from Pasadena or from Palm Springs, or somebody rolled it. Somebody had made this shit. Somebody that had an oven, or somebody that had cooked them by fire. Like, these were the kind of edibles people had cooked over a hot fire. Like, these were the old school ones. And she's like, have you ever had one? I said, I never had one of these. One of these, these super cookies of dope. So next thing, we splitting this thing up. And I love cookies. So she said, well, just take a bite. And everybody says that, and then the person eats too much. It's exactly what happened to me. Because I took a bite, and then in my brain, I'm just thinking it's a cookie. So I'd take another bite. Bro, so fast forward, maybe 40 minutes, I don't know, or even maybe 600 minutes. We're sitting there eating dinner. I can't remember how I know this woman. I can't remember if she is my wife, if she is my longtime girlfriend, if she is my fine cousin. I can't remember. But next thing, man, we're standing outside. It's time to go. And I valeted my car, and I couldn't remember even how the valet worked. I walked up to this man and started just telling him, just describing my car to him like it was a game show or something. He was supposed to guess. The whole time I got the little ticket in my pocket. Anyway, so we're leaving, and it was just it was a business dinner. And so I go to kiss her. I go to kiss this lady, and she's like, what? What's going on? I was just cooked out. I was cooked out on that fucking plant magic, man. On that Mother Nature's freaking vitamin, on Mother Nature's brain lozenge, that THC. I was cooked out. I didn't know what was going on. I'm apologizing and everything, and I just basically tried to kiss somebody that had just had a business dinner with me for no reason out of the blue. But I didn't know if this was I had no idea. I don't know if we lived together. I had no backstory on us at all. Fast forward after that, like 2 days later, she hit me up. She's trying to get me to come over. She's bringing me all this weed, and we start getting together, and she's, next thing you know, she's watering plants around she had these plants set up at different distances in her room. You ever seen that show, The Grand Prize Game? It was with Bozo the Clown, where you throw the thing into the bucket, and the bucket keeps getting further away. And if you hit it at a certain point, you get, free Popeye's chicken for your classroom or something. Well, I don't know if it was a national show. I think it was on WGNO, Chicago, Channel 9. But it was a game show for children. And it was pretty, it was awesome for kids, but maybe it was perverted. Maybe it was only in Louisiana. I don't know. It might have only been in Louisiana, actually, because I think one of my friends was on it one time. But if so, they had this thing. It was called Bozo the Clown. And he was a clown that had red hair. I guess he was Irish. So it was this Irish man who wore this striped suit, and he looked angry. And he had this thing called the Grand Prize Game, where they'd have these buckets. And one of the kids, they'd have a group of kids in the audience. One of the kids would get to come and throw these little ping pong balls into the bucket. And if he hit the furthest bucket everybody in his classroom got chicken, free chicken from Popeyes, So you'd see all the kids in the back, dude, especially the young black kids, they fired up, because it's not a stereotype. Everybody loves chicken. But damn, dude, this lady she could wash the ends of your eyelashes. She had just had accuracy with that vagine, She just had, it was like that movie where that person is the sniper. I'm not sure what it's called. But yeah, she could dot an eye. She could dot an eye from probably about 3.5 feet. But that's what it was, man. And then we ended up, getting sexual and everything, and things happening. But here's the crazy thing. Forgot what I was even telling you. So the next day, though, that edible was in my system, and it was my birthday, and I laid in my bed the entire day, afraid to answer the phone. Afraid. My stepdad called me. He sang me happy birthday every year. They had this family that took me in high school. And every year this man, Mr. Rhett, that's his name, and he calls me and sings me happy birthday on my birthday. And that's something, that gives me a sensation, man. That's something that gives me a sensation. Not an Irish sensation. No, I'm not getting Irish. But it gives me a sensation of being cared about. I wasn't this man's son. I went to live with them, dude. They gave me allowance. I didn't do shit. I was smoking dope in my room half the time. I remember doing a bunch of donuts in my Escort one time. I had a Ford Escort with no passenger seat. So if you get in the front, bitch, you get in the back, It's the only car had 2 entrances into the back seat. And, but I used to do donuts. We had these beautiful lesbians that live across the street from us that would do wild Christmas lights and put like exotic kind of, and everybody said it was like snow mountains and stuff. They built these basically, lighted up dicks. They would put these, and this shit looked all like just like they had 9 big dicks in the yard. I'm like, does that have anything to do with Christmas? Are y'all just trying to catch some sweet, y'all just dreaming about dildo sizes out here? But they were beautiful lesbians and they were beautiful neighbors. But man, I would do donuts in their fucking yard before school. Have a 5th of Taka vodka under my seat. Just living senselessly, and this man still would call me every year on my birthday. And I still spend holidays with them. I'm going to see them on Easter in a couple weeks for a crawfish boil. But I still spend time with that family because they made me feel cared for. And that's what we got to do for each other out here. You can do that today. You could do that today. So if you do something today for me, for my birthday, if you want to give me something, just tell somebody you care about them. I don't care if it's a dude. I don't care if it's a chick. I don't care if it's a child. And you look at your child, or make sure it's your child though. Don't be smoking cigarettes by that Radio Flyer wagon over there in Spokane. This one dude had on sunglasses, kept going down the slide. Like, dude, you're about 38. You better check out. But, do something. Do something nice. Let somebody know you care. Do something nice for somebody. Do something nice. I bet you it'll make them feel good. Because, or if it's somebody you know's birthday, call and leave them that voicemail. Just sing them happy birthday. Who gives a fuck? You sound like an idiot. Oh, well. Because I know it'll make them feel good, man. Because I know that's how it made me feel. And here it's been, I started living with that family when I was 14. And here I'm 38. And that's 24 years, maybe? I don't know. Yeah. And that man, who I didn't fire out of his wang, that man calls me every year on my birthday with no sexual interest in me and just sings me happy birthday. So that's what it's about, man. If you want to do something for my birthday as well, I'll say this. You can subscribe to the podcast on iTunes and leave a comment. Let's get this beast up the hill over there. I think I have a really cool guest coming in maybe next week. Might have a guest coming in this week. One of my good buddies coming in who I love talking to. We may have some great And then it's just going to keep coming. I know Brennan Schaub is going to come on, Brian Callen. We'll get all these hitters in here. A couple of my favorite authors have said that they're willing to come on. So, we got some good things happening. So if you can get that podcast up the hill, push this thing up. Push this thing up. So when I send them the link to go look at this thing, that it shows up on those websites, on those charts. And that's something small you can do for me. Man, we got some good calls that came in, man. A couple that really hit me in the heart. A couple that really hit me in the heart. I got a card too. Somebody gave it to me in, I want to say in Spokane, maybe in Tacoma. I'm going to read it now. I just opened it up. You can see it on the YouTube. It has a hamster on the front. It says, "Don't be shy. Time to unleash your inner party animal. Happy birthday." And it's one of those cards that used to play music. And it's so funny, man, so small circle. These are the types of things my mother would deliver as well to these gas stations. She would deliver any like kind of trinkety type of thing at certain times. She delivered cookies for this company called Vortman. And that's when I knew I was an addict, when I would go lay in her car at night and I'd fucking eat 45 sugar cookies, dude. And then tell my mother I didn't. That's crazy. Who else did it? Who else did it but the kid who's sick now? And you could smell the sugar and dough in my skin. If I were to sweat a little, you could smell sugar and dough in my skin. Oh, here it is. Oh, it's got a dancing hamster on it on this card, but I'm going to read you. This letter came with it right here. It said, "Theo, happy birthday to one of my favorite adults in the game. Thank you very much. I wanted to wish you nothing but success in the future and to tell you to enjoy today. I'm one of your biggest supporters. I just started my comedy career almost exactly a year ago. Your insane sense of humor has helped mold me. Every time I feel nervous to be myself on stage, I will turn on 30-pound bag of hamster bones to remind me it pays off in the end. Never doubt yourself. You are funny. It says you are the funniest comedian around because of that inner voice. Appreciate you, Stephen Schultz." Thanks, Stephen. You know what's weird, man? This is going to sound kind of crazy. When I got to this part where it said, "You are the funniest comedian around," I didn't want to read that. I didn't want to read that out loud. And I'll tell you why, man. I don't even really want to tell you guys why. Because there's something inside of me sometimes that's afraid to feel good. When things start to feel good or people start having fun, sometimes I can't do it. I got to shut that down. There's something inside of me that I think when I was young, I was so used to not feeling good or just, I didn't like myself so much that I got used to not wanting to feel joy. I didn't want to feel it because it felt so foreign, I think, to me that it felt like too big of a leap. It felt like too big of a leap to read this. Never doubt yourself. You're the funniest comedian around. From someone that I don't know. It felt too big of a, it felt scary to feel good about myself. I don't know if that makes any sense to anyone or not. And maybe it doesn't have to. This, sometimes these episodes or this talking and, I don't know sometimes what I'm talking about, but I feel what I'm talking about, but sometimes I can't get the words right. Maybe not today, but maybe in the future I can. But I had some great calls that came in. I want to get onto this hotline. The hotline is 985-664-9503. If you are struggling with anything, if you're experiencing the dark arts, I've been out there. I stay out there. I got 3 days right now, no masturbation, and I'm feeling hopeful. I fall victim easy to that next thing. It was sugar cookies. It was doing donuts in a lesbian's yard. Whatever it was, that next hit. I always need whatever. I needed something. Anything that kept me from feeling myself. That's what I needed. But man, I'm grateful that I'm here today with you guys. I sure am, man. Somebody I don't know gave me a nice letter. And now we're going to do that for somebody else with some of these calls. We're going to these are their letters. We're taking them in. We're doing this as full circle. That's what we're doing. We're going to do good things here together, and I'm grateful for you guys being here with me today. Let's hit a couple of calls right here, man. Thank you very much.
Hey, Theo. This is Brian from Cleveland.
Hey, Brian, down there in Cleveland, and they had a video after the basketball championship of a man eating horse poop out in the street. And if you've never seen that, go take a gander on that, boy. Now, we used to eat mushrooms out of cow poop when I was young, but we never went directly to the poop and skipped the drugs. So that was a real artsy move. Let's hear more.
I have a 5-year-old daughter, and just wanted to get your opinion. She goes to kindergarten right now, and I'm a single dad, and every weekend, when the UFC fights are on or MMA fights, whatever, me and my buddies and my family, we watch them.
Oh, that's cool, man. I just started watching them, and people have told me that if you get into these Krav Maga and these MMA type of environments, that you learn like a brotherhood, and I think that's something I'm starting to be attracted to about it. Because in the beginning, I was kind of scared to watch some of it. Looked so much violence. Looked so much violence out there. People fucking losing lips. Out in a damn, people losing lips out in a small, 8-fenced yard out there, that octagon. But thank you for calling. Your family enjoys them more?
And she's been learning a lot of things from watching the fights, and lately in school, she's been rear naked choke kids and, double leg takedown them and, just doing all these things, all these moves that she learned from just watching that I didn't teach her.
Mm-hmm.
And these kids and, teachers having a problem. She choked the kid out about 2 weeks ago and the kid went to sleep and.
Fucking, bruh. Sorry. Maybe I shouldn't have said that. Let's hear more.
She got suspended for about 3 days and, I want to get her into jiu-jitsu school or something, that's going to get that energy out. But I was wondering, what is your opinion on what I should do and how I should handle, her trying to fight all these kids, and being kind of a bully or, kind of just being very, very expressive with her moves that she learns from UFC. So, if you could give your opinion on that, I'll definitely appreciate you.
Thanks, Brian. I don't have a 5-year-old, but I grew up. I have 3 beautiful nieces, man. I've been just so blessed in that area, and I love watching. Little girls are to me. I have 2 nephews, and they're getting real cool. But little girls, watching them grow up and stuff is so much fun, and watching them be brave and do things that maybe you didn't have the opportunity or be able to do as a child. It's beautiful. But yeah, man, if she fucking figure foreign dudes, then that's why. Look, let her learn these methods, especially with those legs. She's doing leg locks, and she's Ric Flairing little fucking 4th graders. Because I'll tell you this, in about 6 or 8 years, them boys gonna be coming at her with erections, bruh. They're going to be coming at her with that straight blood yoga right in the middle. They're going to be just, their dick's going to be yogaed up. And she's going to have that ability. She's going to be able to put that, put somebody's nutsack in a rear naked choke, bro. And they'll never get naked again around her, I bet. So some of these skills are going to come in handy. But look, I think you're on the right track. I think it's nice. It's nice to see an empowered girl like that, feeling confident about herself. But definitely, I think you can guide her into knowing when is right and when is wrong to use. Now wrestling moves. If she wants to watch some wrestling shit, show her some old Jimmy Superfly Snuka. If she wants to jump off a fucking tree branch, an elbow drop a couple of fucking snot-nosed cats that are trying to get up at her, then that's okay. That's okay. That kind of wrestling is 100% okay. When you get more into that Krav Maga, that MMA, that UFC, now that stuff's more technical and that's real. So people could really get hurt. But I think you have a great opportunity to organize what she's doing right now and get her to feel that passion and energy, because then she's going to be able to teach other kids and other young ladies who are interested some of the same skill set. And I think, maybe some more like karate type of stuff. I always thought dudes that did karate when I was young were ridiculous, or some Tai Chi maybe. But that kind of stuff, I think it seems to show you more of like holding the value in holding your power and being and being that statue and not just being that straight up, that 6-year-old fucking attack, you stabbing people with pencils and shit, and just rainbow brighten motherfuckers and choking them out. So I think get her organized, because she's with her ability and her desire, she's going to be able to lead others if she has some organization. And it seems like as a parent, that probably wouldn't be too hard for you to provide. But I think it's cool, man. I think it's beautiful. I think it's awesome that you care so much about what's going on with your daughter. But yeah, don't let a bully run around out there just beating up kids for no reason. It's scary. They had this girl when I was growing up named Kizzy. Her name was Kizzy, and she would beat all the boys' ass. And the scariest part about that was, after a while, I started to feel sorry for her, because you could tell that she probably really wanted some affection from boys, but boys were afraid to give her affection. Even if she was a pretty girl, she just happened to be really tough when we were young. And she probably, she came from some tough circumstances, but at a certain point, it didn't serve her well to act that tough all the time, because it made boys afraid to care about her, and so she didn't have dates to the dances, and she, and then she felt like she had to take on this persona of always being tough. And you could start to see that kind of weared on her. But yeah, man, it seemed like you're in control of it. But thank you for calling, Brian. I appreciate it. Those are just some thoughts of mine. Also, I have no children and I don't know, but I'd love to have some one day, I think, which is crazy, because I never used to think that. That's crazy, man. It's crazy how, they say a leopard never changes its spots. I don't believe that. Let's take another call. Here we go.
Hey, Theo. My name is Kara, and I am calling from New York.
Hey, Kara from New York. Thank you for calling.
So anyway, I am a pretty normal person, again, with a little bit of an unusual job. You have people calling in for that. I am an animal agent, which means that I work with animals in movies and TV commercials and TV shows and print ads.
Ooh. So you working with star animals? No way. Oh, we have to call you again, because I want to know about some of them. I worked on a set one time with Sabrina the Teenage Witch. They have a cat in there, not the puppet, the real cat. I worked with that cat in a commercial one time. I worked with a dog one time that was in that movie with Will Smith at the end of the world, where he's like the last person alive. I Am Legend. Work with that dog. I saw a woman had a batch of, this lady had every animal you could think of. I went to her home out there, and she lived out, I want to say west of Los Angeles, like north of Los Angeles. She had every animal you could think of, down to lice and ticks. And she'd have a certain number of them, and she took care of them. And they had agents. She had head lice that had agents that were represented in the industry. Absolutely baffling. Thanks for calling, Kara. Let's hear more. Onward.
And we do all kinds of fun animals, not just dogs and cats.
Oh, I always wanted a show animal. Ever since I saw Green Mile and that man had those show mice. And that reminded me of growing up around, I grew up in the stray animal belt, and so we get wild animals. I mean, we had a fucking batch of damn lemurs came through one year, and I don't want to say they were French, but they had the best posture I'd ever seen. They stood on 2 feet. And there was probably almost maybe 5 of them, and they knew each other. And so I've always, had a unique fear and infatuation of animals, from getting attacked by them and also being intrigued by them. Onward.
We do sloths and alligators and snakes, and I'll wrangle just about anything.
Dang, you sound like you might want to hire Brian's 5-year-old daughter to get out there and catch something. I'd love to see her I'd love to see her choke out a fucking salamander. Here we go.
But the real reason for my call is, what is up with handicapped bathrooms, or what is the protocol with handicapped bathrooms? So it might be more of a female issue than a male issue. I'm not quite sure, because we use stalls for everything. But going into a typical women's bathroom, there are regular stalls, and then there's usually one stall for handicapped. And I've always just kind of used it as, you're waiting online, and if that's the one open, then that's the one you go into. But
yeah, well, look, I think that's it. I don't think, if you're in a bathroom and there's a handicap stall and nobody's in it, you don't wait around for a handicapped person. If that's what you're asking, like, you don't have a responsibility just to to help a handicapped person up to the toilet, so you can use it. If a handicapped person shows up, you have to get out. It's almost like at a they get to go first. It's like at a gangbang, really. If you're in a gangbang and a handicapped person shows up, they fuck first, you know? You don't fuck while some dude's over in the corner being blind or being, only having, one leg or no arms or something, or in a sling, or, so it's just protocol. You let them go first. I've spent a ton of time in handicapped bathrooms. I used to have this fear sometimes of being in the airport and fear of flying. And when I went to the airport, the first thing I would go to, I'd go in the handicapped bathroom and sit in there for about 40 minutes, not even do any poops or pees. And I would just sit in there, and sometimes I would even imagine what it was like to have certain types of handicaps, because I've always really had an affinity for the disabled and always, marveled at the abilities of people with disabilities. They had a dude in my town, no arms. People know, I've talked about him, this dude, Gert Edgerton was his name, but they call him Gert, which is just short. If you take Edgerton, you take the beginning and the end off of it, you get Gert. And he had no arms, and he would fucking choke people out all the time. This dude was choking, bro. You don't even, you talking shit, you think he ain't gonna do nothing, and suddenly you getting choked out. Like he just grew 2 arms, but he didn't. He would snatch you up with his neck. He would get you between his neck and chin. He would take you down to the mat. But I think, look, use them. There's this crazy thing in the world about handicapped people. We can't say handicap. We can't mention them. They want us to be a part of their lives. Handicapped people want to be included in the story. They want to be I don't care. I don't care if somebody don't have arms or legs or a head. If they got a good heart in their chest, let's go. That's all I care about. People putting all these handicap. Dude, I'd love it if they just came to a regular restroom. I'd hold the dude on the toilet while he shits if I have to. That's brotherhood. That's old school. That's Native American type stuff. I mean, that's cocaine behavior, really. Holding on to a buddy while he shits. I mean, if you haven't done that, you haven't done some good blow. I remember one time I don't know where this was. I think could have been over in New York or Virginia Beach, man. We got some shady, shady cocaine. And this dude had to shit, one of our buddies. And he had a shit and he couldn't. But he had, his whole body was shitting, but man, I'm sorry to be talking about this. It's kind of gross, but he couldn't do it. And so we had to get 2 or 3 dudes in there to push on his abdomen, just literally squeezing his body as much as he could until finally he just blew shit. So, sometimes you gotta, if people's handicapped, then that's it. Because we all get handicapped sometime. This time you're not handicapped, maybe next time you will be. This time you have a certain body type, next time you get the other time. You'll be back. You'll be somewhere next after this life, experiencing the other side of the coin. Whatever that coin is. Because a lot of it's perspective. We don't really live in different worlds, but we definitely live in different perspectives. But yeah, look, if you're handicapped or you got a friend that's handicapped, you party with them, Kara. And you fucking get them an animal. Get them a sack of head lice or something, and I'll bill it to me. Get them a couple of gerbils, throw a G-pig at a freaking paraplegic, and I'll pay for that. Because it's amazing, it's amazing the power it's amazing the power, it's amazing the feeling you get, the sensation. Back to that you get that feeling of just, I feel impressed when I see somebody that has a disability and they're able to manage and thrive and be happy. Man, that makes it's impressive. It puts things into perspective. And we need that. But yeah, if you got to borrow their shitter for a few minutes, Carrie, you get in there, baby. You do something dirty in there. I'm not going to say a word. You sound like a good woman. We got 2 more calls here that I want to get to, and I'm super grateful for you guys for being here with me on my birthday. I'm so I'm 38, and as hard as I don't want to admit it, sometimes I'm pretty happy. as much as for some reason, there's something inside of me is just, it's not used to admitting it. It's that same thing I think that, just I had over the years. It's that same thing flaring back up. I just don't want to admit sometimes when I'm feeling good. Because I guess I just, I don't know. I was so used to not feeling it when I was young that I'm afraid it's not going to stick around. But we're working together, boy, and we got this. Gang, gang. Gang, gang, man. They had this guy that came out in Spokane, right? He came out and right when the show started, he's yelling, gang, gang. And you could tell he was, as he loved this past weekend, he was into it all, man. And 9 minutes later, dead asleep. You could see he'd went out and done the St. Patty's Day and lived his life to the fullest, and he was going to get to that show no matter hell or high water or how many Irish dudes came at him for BJs or whatever. No matter how Irish shit got for him, he was showing up. And he showed up, man. And then 9 minutes later, he was like at the second or third table off to the right in Tacoma in the late show, and he was dead asleep. But I knew that he was, I swear he had a smile on his face. I swear he did. And I think because the rest of us were having such a good time, he couldn't help but enjoy it. He couldn't help but catch a hit off that joy through his ears. Oh, let's get to another call that we had right here. We have people that call in. If you had a good weekend or a bad weekend, call in, leave it on the hotline, and each month we're going to give out one of these. We got this batch of blue correctional gray blue, correctional blue, the correctional center blue. That's the only way to describe this color. Correctional center blue t-shirts. Whoever had the best or worst weekend, you got to leave the voicemail. Try to leave it in 60 seconds or less on the hotline. And whoever had it, we're gonna share their weekend or whatever, and we're gonna give them a shirt. Whoever did it, whoever had the best one. Let's listen to this one right here if we can.
Hey Theo, this is Aaron. Just wanted to say I'm a huge fan of the podcast and your stand-up.
Thanks, Aaron. I appreciate that. And this has just been a feel-good episode, man. A lot of these calls, people saying nice things. And I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but I don't, but I'm not doing that for my own ego, but I appreciate it. Onward.
I think you're hilarious, man. Just have a question. I got out of a bad relationship.
Oh, this is a different call. Let me hear this call first, actually. This is the dude with the weekend. Sorry about that. Here we go.
Hey, Theo. This is Nate from Massachusetts. Just calling to share the best weekend I had in a long, long time.
All right, Nate from Mass. Boy, Nathaniel. Nathaniel. And I think that's a name in the Bible maybe, or in some other, I think a different book, actually. Let's hear more.
I got to spend a beautiful, sunny, late winter Saturday out on the ice fishing with my 6-year-old son and both of his granddaddies.
Ooh, that sounds like that movie where the two old guys fight. And that movie is called Grandfather's, I think it's like Grandfather's Summer Camp or something, with Jack Lemmon, and who's actually buried by my house, and Walter Matthau. And they are both buried by where I live in Los Angeles. And it's about senior citizens fighting about stuff, and they go fishing. But let's hear more.
By the time I was old enough to remember them, half my grandparents had passed on.
Yeah, grandparents used to die a lot earlier when we were young. These kids nowadays, they get it all. They get the iPads and they got the Pokemon card. They ain't getting as many diseases. I remember we used to all get a disease, dude. Everybody had fucking, some type of syndrome, or, their spine was, just working freelance. Everybody's fucking living a little bit Jenga in the back. All the scoliosis tests, all of that. Everybody was coming in, one of their eyes didn't work super good. They had to hold their eye open while they took tests and shit. Everybody had something. But now everybody's living joyously and having all their grandparents. Let's hear more.
And by then, the other half maybe didn't have time to go out and spend a whole day out on the ice with a youngster.
Yeah, that's the truth. Remember that? Back in the day, your grandparents, they couldn't even, by the time you knew them, they couldn't do nothing. They was eating gelatin. That was it. They was just shoveling gelatin and, just stuffing their faces with gelatin and doing suppositories and stuff when they could catch a little hit off of, a batch of a prescription. You know, I remember my dad would put his walker. My dad had a walker. He put it out in the yard. That was our jungle gym. We climb around on his walker out there in the front yard. Fucking just spinning off that bitch and just landing out in the mud, dude. Had a beautiful dismount, actually. I had a beautiful dismount when I was probably about 6.5, boy. Like, damn, Dominic, is it Mogiyashu? You know what I'm talking about. Gabby Douglas. Let's hear more.
But it was a real special day, and I hope my son gets to carry it with him into the future. I know that I got to take a little bit of time and sit back and appreciate watching him out there with my father and my father-in-law, just loving life, running around like a little rascal on the ice, watching flags pop, catching bass and chain pickerel. Congrats on the new studio, brother.
Thanks, Nate. Wow, that's a great call, man. That's a great call. And you can hit the hotline with your best or worst weekend, whatever your weekend was like. You don't have to, and it needs to be something that just happened. So just make it fresh, and there's no pressure. We'll do it every month. We're going to give away one of those Correctional Center blue T-shirts to whoever's, kind of hit home the most. And we appreciate it, Nate. Yeah, it's a beautiful feeling, man, seeing that, seeing what that's like. I remember my grandparents when I was probably 6 years old, maybe 5 or 6, because I had a long gap where I didn't get to spend time with them, but they took me fishing for the first time. And I was walking on this trail up to Atkinson. It was an old fishing camp out just in rural Illinois. It was called Atkinson. And it was awesome, man. And they had just Spoon River flowed through there or around there. And they had, you've probably read those plays, the Spoon River anthologies. And anyhow, a snake, this black snake, and I'm not getting racial, the snake was black. It has nothing to do with anything. It wrapped itself around my boot. And my grandmother saw it. I didn't see it. She said, "Stop, don't move." And she had this big stick, right? And she swung that thing and hit me in the fucking shin. I mean, I can still feel the pain. The pain it hurt so bad. It didn't even start in my shin. It started in my stomach. It just it just wanted to, it almost just made both of my lungs crawl out of my face and just look for hope in the distance. So she did that to me. But yeah, that sounds like a beautiful time that you had. And thank you for sharing that, Nate. We got this other call that came in right here. Here we go.
Hey, Theo, this is Aaron. Just wanted to say I'm a huge fan of the podcast and your stand-up.
Thank you very much, Aaron.
I think you're hilarious, man. Just have a question. I got out of a bad relationship with this girl about 2 years ago.
Okay, welcome out.
And since then, I don't know, man. Like, we were kind of engaged, so when she broke it off and she left me for some other dude, that kind of left me in a bad rut. And I think I got like this, I'm traumatized from it because I can't exactly approach women the same way I used to anymore because I got that fear in me. I got that trauma. So I guess my question to you is, have you been in that situation before? If you have, how'd you deal with it? Because I'm open to any ideas.
Thank you for calling, Aaron. Have I been in that situation before where I felt traumatized by approaching women, where I felt scared to approach women? Yeah. Yeah, I've been in that situation. I think most of my life I've lived it. I think that's a natural fear of a lot of men. So for one, don't feel alone. I think talking to other friends about it and going with somebody else if you're really trying to meet a girl in a bad way. I met a comedian one time, and this was in Madison, Wisconsin, and he told me, he said, "You know what I do?" He goes, "I'll walk up to a woman I'm interested in, and I'll just say, 'Look, you really caught my eye, and I'm nervous right now, but I wanted to say hello.' And if they're a decent person, a decent woman, they're at least going to communicate with you. They're going to understand that you're being real. They're going to feel something. As long as you ain't creeping or you're not wearing, as long as you got your shirt sleeves on your, if a shirt came with shirt sleeves, as long as that shirt still has those sleeves on it and you didn't cut them off or you're not, and your neck's clean and your ears are clean, then a decent woman is going to communicate with you. And a woman that's not worth it isn't going to. Now, the one who communicates, she might not love you. She might not ask you out. She might not accept your offer if you ask her out. But she's going to communicate with you. And I think it sounds like you have to put some of that past to rest. It sounds like you got this, this anchor back there with this lady. How do you let that go? Well, some of it takes time. You can't hurry that. Some of it just takes time. So what you can do while that is, it just takes time. They say it takes twice as many years to get over a relationship than you were in it. Especially if you were almost engaged. I don't know what that means. If you were afraid to do it or she didn't want to do it. But for whatever reason that didn't work out, it wasn't supposed to work out. Wherever you are right now in your life, that's where you're supposed to be. There's probably some really good stuff right around the corner for you. But you gotta show up with your posture each day. You gotta look up if you want to see it. You're gonna have to wake up and open your eyes and feel hopeful. I notice the second I start to feel real hope, like I start to feel hopeful, like I start to go into my day and be like, instead of being like, fuck, another day where I'm, not with her, another day where I'm at the same job, or another day where I have to sit in traffic. Or, as soon as I think that way, that's where I'm stuck all day. But when I wake up and say, guess what? Another big dick just woke up in the universe today. Guess what? I got my eyes open and I got a strong snout. I might smell a pot of gold in the distance. I might find treasure today. I might catch a rare animal. I might ride a unicorn. I might kiss a donkey. I might do something. Anything could happen. When I show up and say, yeah, I might sit in traffic today, but I might meet a hottie in my car. Because you know where a girl can't get away from you? In traffic. At least probably not for 2 to 4 minutes. So when you neck and neck with her, throw that flirt. Roll down your window. You know what I'm saying? Put on some 2 Chainz. Show her your vibe without saying a word. Sometimes you can show your vibe without even saying a word, boy. Ride around with one of those party things you get at a party, those things that bother everybody that they roll out and then roll back in. One of those little party favors. Throw one of those in the car. Put on some fucking Nelly. You telling me if you drive past a good girl and you busting some Nelly and blowing those party favors, and if she don't look over twice, that's not on you. That's on her. You just gratefully lost a bad girl. Be grateful when you lose the bad ones. That's another thing. You see a girl you're nice to, or you said something nice. It's okay. As long as if she's nice and friendly and cordial, good. This is a good girl. But some girl that's just they want to be a cunt, or they want to be rude because you just said hello, or they know you're nervous and they still just shut your nerves down. You be grateful you didn't end up with that broad. Because you're going to have fun fucking her for a couple weeks, and then you are going to lose half your money to her in 9 months, somehow, through some dirty alimony or something. Whatever path you're on right now, it's okay, man. And you got to take some time to heal. But while you're healing, do not feel bad for taking that time. And that could be the little prison you get caught in. Because sometimes, not only will I have some feeling of sadness from something that occurred prior in my life, but then I'll feel bad for feeling bad. And that's not a good sensation. So if you feel that sensation, man, you feel that vibe, let that thing go. Find something good. Spend time with some buddies. You'll be amazed how you find a buddy that has a good girlfriend. And guess who she'll know? Other good girlfriends. Sometimes we think it's this element where we got to just put all of it to meet somebody. Get involved in a program, something new, something different. Man, you'll find somebody. You'll find somebody. And you'll find them when you're ready. But you show up hopeful to each day, man. You show up hopeful, bro. Because if I'm going to sit here and be hopeful for you, then you better be hopeful for yourself. I'm saying don't put it all on me, man. This other call came in, man. We're going to finish up right here, man. And this was I want to play it for you guys first. But Aaron, good luck, man. Keep your head up, dude. I love you, bro. You know? And if I was a little more Irish, I'd get Irish with you. I'd try to help you out there. But if anything, you can always just wait till next St. Patty's Day and at least get a load off, from somebody, from anybody. Here we go. Let's hear more.
All right, Theo, mate. I'm not sure if it's obvious from my tone, but a little bit uncomfortable leaving this message, but...
Okay, no worries, brother. That's okay, man. I've been uncomfortable, man. So don't feel uncomfortable, please.
Just sort of want someone to talk to about this. And I know the Theo Von past weekend family. I think there's some people who can give me some useful feedback.
Yeah, man, we can certainly we can try it if we can. Onward.
I guess I've run into a bit of a crossroads in my life, sort of chatting shit. But yeah, I've got a bit of a drug problem, and yeah, I don't know. My problem's that I keep on justifying everything with like self-pity. And I don't know, at what point do you stop feeling sorry for yourself? That's like my question, but yeah, I'm kind of chatting absolute fucking drivel. But yeah, man.
No, you're not, man. Onward.
I love the show. Been listening for like a year now. Yeah, man, take it easy.
Thanks for calling, man. I appreciate it. You weren't talking absolute drivel, I appreciate you calling. Excuse me, man. Yeah, I appreciate you calling, dude. I could, at what point, I want to hear this one more time, man. I want to hear this one more time.
Yeah, I don't know. My problem's that I keep on justifying everything with like self-pity. And I don't know, at what point do you stop feeling sorry for yourself? That's like my question, but yeah, I'm kind of chatting absolute.
At what point do you stop feeling sorry for yourself? It's crazy, man. It can become an addiction. Ended up feeling sorry for yourself can almost become an addiction in itself. Because when you feel sorry for yourself, at least it's at least a feeling. And sometimes after a while, it's like the only thing you know how to feel. And it's sad, man. It's an unfortunate situation. But guess what? You're not alone, man. You're going to be okay. I thought about this earlier, actually. I listened to this call, and it really hit home for me. And so I actually wrote down my answers because I want to be able to, express myself as clearly as I can. First, I want to say thank you. And also, I wanted to read this, actually. Because this same caller sent an email as well that explained... He sent a text message into the hotline that explained his thoughts a little more. He said, Theo V, the boy, this is me again hitting you up from London, UK. If my memory serves me correctly, my voice messages I left were pretty incomprehensible. I'm bombarding you with messages and calls at this point, but I just want to clear things up. I can write better than I can talk. I lived the first 19 years of my life in excessive comfort, the perfect family, and no worries about anything. In the last year, everything has collapsed. My dad was diagnosed with MS, and my mom has suffered a schizophrenic episode and left my dad. I know still my life is cushy, but the adjustment from never having faced anything difficult to a storm of shite raining down on my face has been difficult. Happy to be alive. That's how I feel. That's how I try to feel most of the time. I just try to remind myself, hey, man, happy to be alive, When I get to open my eyes, it's like, okay, they want me back, That's how I feel a lot of times. Like in the morning when I open my eyes, it's like, all right, God wants me back, or they want to, They want to run it back. Okay. I made it, you know. I think that's how I feel in the morning when I open my eyes. Like, okay, they got called up again. What's going on? Happy day to you. I got that big hair today, baby. I can feel it. I feel it. Because I knew when I parked and walked into the building that I saw a bird look at me. I saw a bird. Because birds move their neck and it's so quiet. You know, it's so severe and quiet. A bird can't slowly move its neck. You notice that? A bird has to be either at like 12 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 11:15. But a bird can't just slowly migrate like 11:15, 11:16, 11:17, 11:18. A bird can't slowly move its neck. But anyway, I saw a bird look at my head and I knew it was thinking, it was like having nest thoughts. I just felt that bird looked, I knew it was thinking, oh, damn, look at that fella. That boy's got a damn Hampton Inn on his neck. That's what when he saw this big hair, he's thinking, oh, that fella's got a Fairfield Inn and Suites that I'd like to sleep in. I could just feel that bird looking at me, and that's when you know you got big hair. That's when you know that I got that teepee today. I got that wigwam. My shit is Native American. I got literally that wigwam. And I'm having reservations. I'm always having reservations. But yeah, I wake up and I'm like, right when I wake up, I'm like, all right, life must want me back. And it's the same for you guys, man. Life wants you back. Life wants you here today. You know, life, God, the powers, the deities of the universe made a choice and they said yes to you today. And that's beautiful. You know, that's a welcome mat. You know, when you open your eyes, that's a welcome mat from the gods, really. It's exactly what that is, baby. Gang, baby, praise God. And, yeah, let's get into it. All right. I don't know, that audio felt low to me a little, but maybe it's, could have been just me. That is Come Over by Stevie Starlight. And if you're not familiar with that little dang, the cinnamon bear of the universe, that is Stevie Starlight, then go get you a dose. Go have Mother Nature cut you up a gram of Stevie Starlight, baby, and put that in your snout-o-luphagus, son. You'll be on Yesame Street, bro, in no time, dog. There's he's a beautiful listen and a beautiful man, Stevie Starlight. What's going on? A lot. You know, it's been there's a couple things I can tell you about. You know, I want to tell you actually that we have some new tour dates coming. I do want to announce them because I'm excited. Return of the Rat is heading to Albuquerque, New Mexico. We will be there May 18th. Midland, Texas, May 19. Lubbock, Texas, May 20. And Dallas, Texas, May 21. Right there, beautiful. Also, Savannah, Georgia, we want to come and see you and see how you're doing and take your temperature. Do that rectomometer. That's June 2nd, Savannah, GA. Augusta, GA, June 3rd. June 4, Montgomery, Alabama. And June 5, Columbus, Georgia. So there you go. Some beautiful choices. Excited to be going to those places. And you can get tickets at theovon.com/TOUR. And those will be on sale for our Patreon on Tuesday, April 5th at 10 a.m. local. We have a small Patreon, but we are very grateful to them for their support over the years. And then the artist pre-sale, that goes on sale on Wednesday, April 6th at 10 a.m. local time. And that is Rat King. And so very grateful to you guys for supporting me. And then the general on sale will be Friday, April 8th at 10 a.m. local time. So Wednesday, April 6th, you can start to get them on Rat King will be the code. And I'm excited about that, man. I'm excited. You know, the world feels weird right now. And I might be the only one, I don't know, but to me something feels, I don't know. It feels disjointed some. You know, it feels like, and I don't know if it's the world or if it's just like our society or if it's just America even. You know, but things just feel strange out there. You know, is it just me or does it, everything has a little bit of a Halloween edge, I feel like. Like some stores, they don't have anybody even there. You know, they're like, you know, stores don't have employees. We're understaffed. You know, you get through, you're at Chipotle and you get to the end of the line and it's like they hired some person who's never even worked before. Like has had, you know, and they're just they don't even know what to do. They're just standing there just eating guacamole. They have no idea. You ask them anything, they kind of go, they get scared. Like there's like a vampire seeing sunlight, you know. They're just there's just some, I don't know what's going on in the world. Yeah, I guess they say the workforce, something is going on. There's not a lot of workforce. Let me look that up. So I'm not just, is there a workforce shortage? There we go. In 2021, more than 47 million workers quit their jobs. Many of whom were in search of improved work-life balance and flexibility, increased compensation, and a strong company culture. Huh. Yeah, and I don't know how factual this is. You know, this is U.S. Chamber of Commerce, so we have no idea if it's legitimate or not, but I do notice you go play. Bro, I walked into a store the other day, and the guy, it was like a little grocery store, and the guy asked me to work for like 30 minutes. He's like, can you just help out for like 30 minutes? I'm like, dude, I'm just trying to get some limes, bro. I'm just here I needed 2 limes. And I'm like, bro, I just trying to get some limes. I mean, I used to work checkout, you know, I know Bananas code is 4011, but I'm here for lunch. I'm not here to work, you know, like that's how strange it's getting that they're just, if you're even in a place, they're asking you to work, it feels like, which is exciting. I mean, at least it's great. And you know, I guess I'm lucky that I don't have to take that, you know, 30 minutes. I don't need that employment at that half hour mark, but damn, it's just, it feels like I don't know if it feels like the Wild West. And then where is everybody? That's another thing. You're like, if nobody's working, what's going on? I don't know. And then you start thinking, are people bots? Are you running into bots? You know, I watch people when they get in their car a lot of times if they're leaving me, because that's when I figure a bot would have the toughest time. Because there's a lot of little intricacies when you get into a vehicle. And I don't think a bot could do that real easily. You know, you could easily see a bot like, oh, I like the sunglasses, you know. But if you're running into like a bot human, I think if you watch them get in their car, they would have to really do it good. I'm happy. It's Tuesday, you know. So I don't know. It's just getting me. Everything feels strange out there. And it feels kind of lawless. You know, it feels lawless. It feels like you know, people are just running red lights. It doesn't, you know, it's like fucking I'm running red light. I mean, I'm running stops. It's just like people are doing what they want. That's what it feels like. It feels like people are just doing what they want. And I don't know. Maybe that's just, and it could just be my area, you know? But we have like the police live in fear. They're afraid, it feels like, to do their jobs. I don't know. A lot of fear out there. And I'm sure you know that. I'm not trying to be a downer. Just kind of saying, I guess, what's been happening. Or just things I've been thinking about. What else, dude? I went with David Spade over to the Oscars after parties. And that was interesting, you know, and fuck Oscars, man. You know, you know, I don't like all of that shit. You know, I don't like Hollywood or much of it. And, but getting to go with him and stuff like that was real interesting. And I was over at his house. We watched the Oscars at David's home, and they had the Chris Rock got hit. And I was thinking about that, and I think there was so many people have talked about it, right? That is what it is. But I think there was like a moment where part of the anger was that here you have somebody who's just saying something, right? Chris Rock. Now I get he's jabbing at the guy's wife. I get that. But also, he's a comedian. He should be able to do that. Or he should be able to take his risks. And I felt like it was a calculated risk. It felt super safe. But there was something about how you saw a guy walk up because he didn't like what somebody else said. Or for whatever reason. It's hard to really know the reason that Will Smith had in his head. People said all kind of stuff. He was gaying out, or he was gayed out. People said his wife was, you know, they have a, you know, they do foster cocking or whatever. Or when people can make love to your wife. You know, foster cocks. I don't know what it is. They do foster cocks. Or cock fostering. I don't know what it is. I'm not going to look it up either because I have a blocker on my computer. But yeah, so they said so anyway, but there was a guy who said something, and then you saw somebody, a rich guy, another rich guy, come and hit him, and then get an award for it. And it just kind of felt like this is where I ended up really feeling the most anger at the end of it all. It was just really towards Hollywood, towards the Oscars, towards the whole fucking machine of all that shit. It was like, hey, if somebody can hit somebody else, they can do whatever they want. They could say this man can speak or not speak. And we'll give that guy an award. And then, this is the craziest part, all of Hollywood will stand there and applaud the guy. As if the fucked up thing he didn't even happen. And it was kind of like a microcosm, I think, of everything that's been going on. You know? So many people feel like their reality is neglected by Hollywood. That since Hollywood owns a lot of the media and mainstream media, that they just that they're so powerful that if they want to act like something didn't happen, they can just brush right over it, which they do all the time. Pick and choose what they think, or when they think something is important, or what they think is important. So I think there was a lot of that in there for me. And I hope Chris Rock sues the Oscars. I would sue the Oscars. I would sue everybody in that bitch. You know? That's what I would do. Because, yeah, they just, that's what it was for me. It was like, here's this powerful machine saying once again, we determine how, if the way you see things is real or not, almost. Or we think we determine it. Because we all saw somebody hit somebody and then get an award, then give an insane speech and get a standing ovation. It was like they were trying to make us believe that it didn't happen. In a way. Which goes along with the whole pandemic thing. There's that, all of that ties in there. Like, oh, you're going to make me, you're really trying to bend me out of the fact that reality is happening. So anyway, that's kind of where some of that landed for me. And maybe that's obtuse kind of, but maybe it's not, dude. I'm just here for limes. Okay? I walked in here for 2 limes and now I'm an assistant manager. That's what's going on. What else? What else is happening? I know that Chris Rock shit is old news, and it was wild because Spade took me to like a fancy party. You know, he took me to a fancy party, dude. Everybody was in that bitch. Kardashians, fucking Kevin Bacon's was in there. Everybody was in that. Leonardo, DiCaprio, and Da Vinci. Both of them were, I mean, they had seancing in one room. They had damn spirits coming out of the back. Christopher Columbus was in that bitch. Everybody was in there. Kobe, I think Kobe showed up for a half hour. It was, that's how fancy it was. They were recollecting people and they were showing up. You know, Ed Asner was in that bitch. Who else? I don't even know anybody else famous. I think I saw Jesus over there by the, getting some watermelon punch. I mean, they had everybody in there, you know, or a lot of fancy names. That's who they had in there. But that was just fun, kind of just to see how the other half lives, you know. I mean, Hollywood really scares me, and it has for a while, just because they, you know, once you work for people, you're not allowed to have a lot of your own thoughts. And I think we all fear, there's a lot of fear out there for that kind of stuff. Am I allowed to really express what I really feel or really am thinking? When these powerful companies and machines, they'll try to manipulate stuff or just gloss over things that seem very real, just to have things the way that they believe they should be. Anyway, I'm kind of rambling, man. What else? I went out to interview Sugar Sean out there, and he's a UFC guy, fighter guy, and did that out in Phoenix. And he's a real villain of the UFC, kind of in a weird way. You know, he have that villainous side. He's like this, I don't want to say he's like a carnival snake, kind of. He's not no, he just like, because he's so fast. He's like I don't know. I can't tell if he's trolling things or if he's just being himself, you know, and he's very open, you know, he's in an open relationship. He's very open about exactly what he thinks and feels. he's a pretty fascinating guy to be around. And so I was grateful to get to go over there and hang out with him and just spend some time with him. What else is going on? What's going on with me? I've been honestly feeling like a lot of fear recently in my own life. Just uncertainty. I've been having such a tough time making decisions, even just the smallest ones. It's like, man, I'm just so afraid. Something inside of me is so afraid to decide. And I don't know if I'm afraid that I'll make the wrong choice. As much as it is, maybe there's just part of me that's just afraid to commit. I don't know. I'm just kind of thinking about that. If it's one or the other, Am I afraid to commit, or am I just afraid to decide? If I'm afraid of making the wrong choice, or am I afraid of committing? It's interesting how because those two things are really big and different, but both of those are parts of making a decision. So I've been struggling with that a lot. I've been feeling kind of a little bit unsafe and uncertain in the world. And so maybe that also adds to the fact of me feeling like the world is all over the place. And some of that, I think, I'm still not taking antidepressants. So I'm still trying to stay off of them. And I'm going to, I guess, just keep seeing how that can work or not. I'm in contact with doctors and that sort of thing, and therapy and doing therapy, but I'm just, I'm trying to be brave in that instance, because I really don't want to go back on them. I finally got this this medicine hat off of my head, and so much more feelings and thoughts could come out. And I think part of me has really been enjoying getting some of that out of my system. Just getting whatever that turmoil is, that dirty bubble. That it's like a sick chowder that's just been sitting in a damn crock pot. And y'all just want to empty that shit out. Because it affects how my cafeteria smells, you know what I'm saying? It affects how because if I can get the gunk out of the engines, if I can get the nastiness, if I can get whatever's stuck in that S drain or whatever it's called, or P curve or whatever, and shout out to all my plumbers out there, but if I can get the S trap or whatever it is, then I can feel like I'll have a smoother flow inside of me. And that's been that whole journey with the ayahuasca and the staying off antidepressants. And we'll talk about more of it. I want to tell you also, though, right now, we got to pay the bills. I want to say that everybody have different fitness goals. You might have some. Yours might be able to be, you want to be able to do lift up your grandson or something. Look at him. And hold him above your head. Some of y'all may be really struggling. Your fitness goal may be to stand, to be able to stand up and talk to somebody, or to go bird watching, or to play hoops again. Maybe you've fallen on an illness, or have what's it called, mercury poisoning. Well, I'll tell you this, Fitbod is here to help you with your goals, with your path to being your best. That path looks different for everybody, but Fitbod creates a program based on your unique goals, experience, and equipment. Their algorithm uses data and analytics to build on your last workout and maximize results. Whether you exercise 3 days a week or twice a day, every workout is scientifically proven to be better than the last. Fitbod, it's like having that teammate, that PNC, baby, that partner in crime. That's right there for you. They track your muscle recovery, balancing your workout plan with a variety of exercises to avoid overworking certain muscles. That's right. You can access your personalized routine on the easy-to-use mobile app and start making progress on your goals wherever you are. So if you're somewhere, you can do it. It's like having 24/7 access to a personal trainer. You pop it open, you turn it on, and bam, you're getting assisted. You have a partner. Build your fitness habits and become a better version of yourself with Fitbod. Get 20% off your subscription to try out the app for free when you sign up now at fitbod.me/THEO. That's 25% off your subscription when you sign up today at fitbod.me/THEO. You got to know about the zebra, baby. The zebra. You know what I'm saying? That party donkey. You know what I'm talking about. That stripe, baby. That little prison mule, baby. You know what I'm saying? You've seen the bars on that bad boy. Well, with more folks hitting the road, more accidents are happening. And insurance rates are going up. Luckily for us, our friends at the Zebra are here to help. They make it so easy to save hundreds on car or home insurance in just minutes. The Zebra compares car and home quotes for every major insurance company side by side, giving you all the facts you need to make the right decision. Because that's what you need. Sometimes the facts, you got a fact over here, you got a fact over there. You got a fact on the roof, you got a fact under the rug. But they're not lined up. So you can't see the facts all at once. They're going to help you. The Zebra can help. Show support for our show by going to this special URL, thezebra.com/THEO, and get your free quote today. That's at thezebra.com/Theo. All right. What else is happening? What's happening with you guys? What's happening with you? You know, it's funny. Sometimes I sit and I think about you, actually. I think about you listening to this and who you are. I just want you to know that I think about that sometimes. I think, well, I'm saying stuff and it's leaving out of here and it's going into someone's ears, into someone's time. And that's important to me. You know? Yeah, I want to just say thank you. And I'll try to do a better job, or as good of a job as I can, of valuing the fact that you spend your time. You let me up in them ear holes. You know what I'm saying, player? You know what I'm saying? No, I'm a dog, but you know what I'm saying? I'm in both those bitches right now, baby. We got a gangbang going on your brain, son, right now. Woo-woo. Somebody better put a condom on these words, baby, because we fucking getting in there on both sides of it. No, I just want to say thank you. That means something to me, you know, that I think about you. You know, we had a call come in, you know, we had this call come in, which I thought was nice. Let's hear this here.
Hey, Theo. My name is Melissa, and I live in Utah. I was just listening.
Hey, Melissa. And that's Melissa from Utah right there. And good to hear from you. You sound like a woman. You sound good.
I was just listening to your Brotherly Love podcast, and you were talking about autism, and I have a 15-year-old son that has autism, kind of nonverbal, but when he was diagnosed about 14 years ago, what you were talking about is what kind of pulled me through his diagnosis. It was like I came to this conclusion that he had skills that were needed for the future. Our technology has gone so far, so fast, and his brain was so fast.
Oh, yeah. You got that computer, baby, darling. You know? You got that little digital toddler, baby. Or adult toddler now. Onward.
And intelligent. And I was like, you know, these are the kids that our future is going to need to carry us through. And so I just want to thank you for that. It was amazing. Thank you so much for confirming that, like, what I thought 15 years ago, some other people are kind of thinking now.
Oh, well, you're welcome. Yeah, I don't know why. I just, yeah, I'm glad that you have your son, and I'm glad that you obviously have a commitment to raising him and to being a part of his life and to finding ways to see him that make y'all's relationship as important and as valuable as it can be to you. Yeah, I think literally in in 100 years, it's going to be 11 people with autism battling a computer to see if humanity carries on. I could easily see that. And it's all, yeah. And an Amazon van shows up and drops off the whatever weapons they're going to use. And that'll be it. You know, a referee. Will there even be a referee? There probably will. Probably somebody from New York, Hoboken or something. You know, some guy. Or from, maybe a boat captain or somebody like that. Somebody who's a little gruff, who's going to call it like it is. Who's just going to, who's going to take some smoke breaks, though, also. You're going to need that ref that's not afraid to fucking sit out there and puff it out. But thank you. Thank you for calling in and thank you for being a mother. We need them out there. What else? You guys had some calls about things that are going on in my life as well. Here's one that came in. As always, the hotline is 985-664-9503. I feel a lot of anxiety right now about what to communicate with you guys. Because it's, there's been a lot kind of just in my head and in my heart, and so it's tough to know how to get it out and do it in an organized fashion. All right, let's take this call.
What's up, Theo? It's Gavin from Rio New Mexico.
What's up, Gavin? And good to see you, man, from Rio Huerto. And I never heard of that spot, baby, but I'm glad y'all are, I don't know where that is, baby. Onward.
So that is. I had a question about doing the ayahuasca. I've done a DMT, and is there anything close to it? I know DMT only lasts a couple minutes, and you freaking fly through crazy tunnels and meet different people. And, there's always a guy with a backwards hat in mind, and I don't know, it's weird. I've done it a handful of times. It's pretty delightful. You come out of it, you just want to hug people, and feel so good. You feel like, there's actually an afterlife, going through that. I just wanted to know the similarities with it, because it's kind of the same thing.
Thank you for the question there. I appreciate it. And, my experience, DMT was very much like somebody kicked you, beat you in the head with a Dave and Buster's. That's what it's like. It was like two angry gay dudes attacked you at a Dave and Buster's. Because you're seeing all these crazy shapes. There's a lot of rainbows. There's some bears. There's some stuff that look like a orifice or whatever. It has a very kind of a booty carnival type of dirty, magnificent, colorful. It's like it's like God hit you with a mirror, but he hit you hard and he hit you fast. And the cops showed up. and all that, and the cops are from heaven and hell, and it all happened in a matter of minutes. That to me was DMT. A lot of that. And you end up fucking sitting there talking to like an oyster or something, just some shit that you're like, I don't know what this is, And they got a koala over there, and he's puffing Winston's, bro. He's doing his best, and he's out of work probably. I'm sure Chipotle's trying to hire him to work next to that vamp kid who can't handle the frickin'. You ask him one question, he's like, oh, I don't know. I need to sleep. That was DMT for me, man. DMT was like somebody took a pinball machine and buried you in it. They opened the glass up and put you in there, and the game is still going on. There's still somebody hitting the paddles. The balls are scooting around, and it's multi-ball. Somebody accessed a multi-ball. So they're all, and then you're just laying, and they put the glass back on, and you're laying in there, face down. That to me is DMT. That's what DMT was like. It's a couple minutes. You come out of it. You're in Maui. The guy who's doing it with you, you met at a smoothie stand. He's a good guy. He gave you some magnesium. It is what it is. Ayahuasca is like a key, I think. It's like an invitation. You take it, you sit there, you're meditating. There's no party about it. There's nothing like we're going to do this in a back room at a party. That's not. Now, you can still do it in a back room, but it's more of a experience. And it's a longer experience. And it's really, you start to learn about yourself. You learn some truths about yourself. I was sitting there, and people are like, did you go to Peru? Did you go to, Myanmar or whatever? Like, dude, I did that shit right off the 101, bro. I did that. I was probably 180 yards from a Popeyes chicken, in a DSW shoes, dude. I could see, there were moments in some of my visions and stuff that somebody would, walk by with a damn pair of Birkenstocks on. So I was, I wasn't out in the abyss, but the environment I was in was really nice, in the sense that it had a great shaman and great people doing it. And I'm sitting in there, and you take the medicines, and it's almost like your heart starts to dream or think. And it's really wild because you start to get thoughts that come out of it's almost like they come out of the time that's trapped inside of you. It's like your heart gets a brain. I remember sitting there and you just start to go, it's like a best friend shows up and starts to share stuff with you that you're willing to hear because usually because you've been suffering with something, and so it starts to kind of unearth some of that. And you go through the different experiences and you're like, man, that was a lot. I learned a lot of stuff about myself. It's like therapy, but you don't have to do a lot of the heavy lifting. It's like the goddess, like God brings the wood right up to your, the firewood. You don't have to go out and chop. You just open the door and it's all firewood. You can't even see the world. It's just all your firewood is right there. And God has chopped it for you. And so so at that point, it's really an invitation. It's like, how much do you want to know? That's what it feels like to me. How much do you want to know? My last experience, man, I went and, I'd really been struggling with a lot of stuff about my mother. and my relationship with my mother, and my inability to have a connection with my mother, a deep connection. I'd always wanted it. And so I'm sitting there under the ayahuasca, and I've always struggled in relationships, commitment. I've really always struggled. And while I'm under this ayahuasca, while I'm in the experience of the medication, I realized that the reason I have trouble getting into a relationship or being committed, there's two reasons. One is that part of me is still waiting for this relationship with my mother to really come through. There's part of me that's still like this young kid that's still just standing there waiting for his mother to really connect with him. And so it's really hard for me to make another commitment to another woman. It's really hard for me. And I didn't know it was because there's a part of me that's still just literally standing there waiting. And that sounds kind of crazy, but when you're under the medication, it makes a lot of sense because it really activates the inner child in you. And you really get to see what the very young you, the formative you, what he or she went through. And you see why they went through it and how it affected them, and then how that affects you now. It's almost like as an adult, you're a plant. But on ayahuasca, you get to go back to the seed. And you get to look in the seed. And the seed gets to communicate. The seed communicates with you. The early you, the formative you. But so it's a lot different in that sense. You really get to sit there and be with a lot of the things that have made you uncomfortable. But now you're able to see, okay, this is why I behave this way as an adult, because this happened when I was young. And you always can kind of, in therapy, sometimes you'll talk about those things, but to really have a real connection between them and to really feel that connection is pretty powerful. And also it's an invitation in a way, because ayahuasca is an invitation, because it's really how much of that stuff do you want to learn and go into? Because it feels like there's a lot of it. My second experience, I sat there for probably, I can't even tell you. I mean, just tons of time. I was just grieving, just crying. I was grieving like, when I was 12 or 10, my brother, he got to go live with my grandparents. And that sounds like a small thing, but that broke my heart. It broke my heart as a kid that my mother let him go. It really, because he was the closest thing that I felt to love, or to a real friend or something. And here was my mother, and she let him go. Just do what he wanted, like he was an adult. It just was, and that shit broke my heart, man. So, but there's a lot of things inside of you that you've been resilient through. But you're able to go and look at those things and let the air out of some of those balloons, It's like your soul gets to fart, kind of. You're able to go and unpack a lot of these things that really could have really and probably had a big effect on your life and how you behave now. So anyway, it's tough because it's hard for me to go into some of that. A lot of it's real painful. I went and spoke with my mom after the holidays about about a lot of the feelings I was having, and and about how much I felt neglected, really, and it was hard, man. I'm glad I was able to give myself a voice, but it was tough. Because it was also a long time ago, and And so you don't want to damage the person you're talking to or upset, you don't, but you do want to share what's going on and what you're feeling and learning. So that's ayahuasca, man. If you want ayahuasca, you're going to go down you could go down, a real rabbit hole, a real invitation to say, okay, how much? Because you can keep going and doing it. And that's where I'm at now. I don't know if I want to go back sometimes right now. I mean, the last time I went, man, it was cathartic, but it was damn painful, man. It was painful. It was cathartic in the way you sit there and, you cry for the things that you get those tears, all the shit that's in you, get it out. You get it out. You cook it right up out of your system. But it's a lot of work. I mean, it's the hardest thing I've ever had to do. It's like, I would imagine it's like boot camp or something, but for your heart and for your soul and stuff. So, I don't know if that does a good job of explaining it, but that's some of the differences I noticed between them. One of them is like going to a carnival, and the other one is like going to, it's like going into an ocean. So that's my thoughts on the difference between, I think, DMT and ayahuasca. Is ayahuasca can really, DMT shows you that, DMT is like kind of like a firework kind of, but ayahuasca is a damn fucking Jesus. It's a fire. It's a fire, man. What else do we have that came in? You can always hit the hotline, 985-664-9503. I want to unpack a little bit more of the relationship between myself and my mother and that sort of thing. I just don't know if I'm in a space to share some of that. And how, I want to make sure that I'm well about it before I kind of share it sometimes, to be fair to myself. What else we got in here? I was talking about a wife hunt. And that wife hunt, baby, yeah, I would like to have a family. I would like to have a wife and get me a wife, And nothing illegal or nothing. I ain't I ain't kidnapping nobody or nothing like that. But I would like to have me a real wife. So I got to start thinking about that. And now I wouldn't kidnap a woman ever, but you could, if you wanted to, set a butt of scotch out there on the concrete or something on the sidewalk, and as she come by and get it, a lady get it, and she's eating that bitch, and you hit, you go over there and, maybe give her a little massage or something. If she's okay with it, you massage her scalp or something, get that vibe going. Cause that scalp, baby, you massage a woman's head, baby. That's the major tit is a woman's scalp, bro. The front tits, them bitches are just, those are fucking, those are just some red herrings, baby. Those aren't the real deal. That master tit is you feeling a woman's scalp, bro. That's one thing you learn. You start massaging or scratching a woman's head a little. Damn, baby. That's that master tit, son. That thing is the real leader. Them other things, they're just quartz. But the real leader, dog, is that head. That's that master tit. That thing's got a lot of feeling in it. But them little front bunnies, baby, them little sippers, those little A cup hitters or whatever, or D cups, whatever they have, those things are fucking, that's tricking you. The master tit is that head. Praise God. All right, I want to let you know that it can be hard sometimes to see the light at the end of the tunnel. It really can. You know that, especially if you're in a tunnel. Jesus. But especially if you have high interest debt. And sometimes it can be even harder to ask for help. That's where Upstart comes in. Saying goodbye to high interest credit card debt is one of the first steps toward financial independence. But the interest month after month can feel like you're in a never-ending hamster wheel. Hamp gang. That's where Upstart comes in. Upstart-powered personal loans can help you pay down high interest debt. All online with simple and easy to understand payments. Upstart has helped over 1.8 million customers on their path to financial freedom. That's powerful. You can check your rate in minutes for loans between $1,000 to $50,000 without impacting your credit score. Wow, that's amazing. Don't wait and check your rate today at upstart.com/THEO. That's upstart.com/Theo to check your rate today. Don't forget to use our URL to let them know we sent you. Loan amounts will be determined based on your credit, income, and certain other information provided in your loan application. Go to upstart.com/THEO. Look, when you sell something to someone, it's hectic. You got to do this, you got to buy, you got to do this and that, you got to make sure it gets here, you go to the post office, it's a nightmare. You know, all of that. It's hectic. Well, ShipStation can help. Since online shopping is all we do now, basically, ShipStation will make sure that you never have to worry about getting your orders or your shipping wrong again. They handle all your needs affordably and painlessly. They manage every order from Amazon to eBay to Etsy on your website from anywhere. And you can even do it from your phone. They have a beautiful interface on there. Beautiful. Ship more in less time with ShipStation. Use my offer code THEO to get a 60-day free trial. That's 2 months free of no hassle, stress-free shipping. Just go to ShipStation.com, click on the microphone at the top of the page, and type in THEO. ShipStation. Make ship happen. But yeah, here's a call.
Hi, Theo. I wanted to ask, just I guess out of curiosity, you've been open recently about wanting to settle down and wanting something more serious. So I was just wondering if you had any deal breakers, like if you had any, like, for example, do you have like a restriction on an age gap? Like if somebody, let's say, was around 25 years old and was interested in going out with you or something like that, do you have like a immediate like red flag, like a restriction, like with age gaps or anything like that? Like would you not go out with somebody with more of an age gap, like greater than 10 years or something?
Okay, I see what you're saying. Ramifications. That's what you're saying. I made a list a while back. I met a lady on a plane, and she said, make a list of what you want in a wife, in a straight woman. And man, I wish I had it on me today. I don't have it with me. I'll bring it in next time. But yeah, do I have an age gap? I would probably say, you want to be age appropriate. So probably 25 and up, I think. Look, my dad was 38 years older than my mother. So damn, I could see a toddler right now and be like, hey, I'm just trying to gauge their personality, but so I want to be age appropriate, I think, or whatever. I don't know. You don't know what love is, but sometimes you do. So I'd say probably over 25 for sure. What else? Hair. Smart. Loving, I would say. Somebody that likes to, hug and be loving. Somebody that's going to be a good mother. That really is key. I want my children to have a good mother. Even if, I would hope that things will work out between me and my wife, but I want my children to have the best mother that they can. Yeah, that is really important to me. So it's funny. Sometimes I notice when I'm looking for a wife, this shit got me a little bent up. When I'm looking for a wife, or when I'm looking for looking for attraction or something, I'm not out there like, sharpening a sword that says wife on it and shit like that. But, when I am thinking about dating or looking at women or spending my time, my main thought really is this woman going to be a good mother? I have obviously some attraction things, I would like both eyes. I don't care that much, but I would love it. I would like a woman who likes to stay fit, athletic, stay busy, get some sweat going. Those things are just good for life, and a woman who's understanding, because fucking, me, boy, if you listen to this podcast, I need a lot of understanding. So those are a couple of things. I'll bring my list in. But those are a couple things that I think about. I look in a woman's eyes a lot of times, and you can see, and when I look at their eyes, I think if I was a child, would I like looking at that woman's eyes? And that, I know that my wife will have that. It may sound crazy to some people, but the childhood I had didn't have that comfort in it. I didn't have that comfort when from my mother, from her look. And so I want my child to have that. And so that's one thing that I kind of look for, I think. So yeah, somebody with no eyes probably, or that, doesn't have like a warmth in them, probably may not be the best fit for me. That's something that I need, or something I would like. We'll see what God wants, but that's something that I would like. What else? Oh, we had another call here that came in. I know this episode's all over the place, but the truth is I've been all over the place. I'm still really working to try and feel better, to feel well. I felt uncertain a lot of times, and there's days where I want to do the podcast, but I can't because I don't feel well, if I'm real honest, and I want to, put my best foot forward. And sometimes it's hard. Everything's hard. I'm not complaining, but I'm just saying. It feels sometimes, I don't know, it feels, this world, today, it doesn't feel sometimes like it wants you that much. I don't know if that's a crazy statement. I'm not trying to sound cryptic or anything like that. And it could just be American society. It could just be LA, because I've been out here for 10 days. So that could also be it. And honestly, I bet that has a lot to do with it. Yeah, a couple calls came in. We had rushed on the topic of is it okay to have your brother teach you masturbation? To teach you that touchy, that one-hand touch, you know what I'm saying? That seek and go seek, you know what I'm saying? That singular freeze tag, you know what I'm saying? You're it. You know what's going on, baby. Yakking off. I think it'd be funny if when people said jacking off, they had to close their eyes when they said it. Look, man, I want to be honest with you guys. I've been jacking off. Okay? I just don't want there to be any lies here, and I want you to know that I have been jacking off. All right. Because I think if you had to do that, less people would do it. Or what about this? If you jerked off the next day, you had to keep your eyes would just close for no reason a lot of times. those are little governors I wish God had put in the system. If you jerked off, your eyes would close for no reason for about a half hour the next day, or, here and there for 20 minutes. So you're just talking to somebody about the baseball game. Dude, the Blue Jays, wow. Crushed it, huh? Yeah, Tigers sucked this year. And then suddenly you're just in the dark, dude. You're just standing there at lunch. Your buddy's like, what's going on, man? And you can't open your eyes. And he's like, oh, you've been jacking off, haven't you? Or if you jacked off, then the next day you had to do thumbs up all day. So people knew. I just wish there was a little bit more something built in our system. But I've been jacking off, man. I'll be real honest with you, dude. Or jacking off, as people say, with their eyes closed. I've been doing jacking off, and I wish I hadn't. I got caught up in it yesterday, and I was looking at some pornography, man. Just felt horrible. And I just don't like it. It makes me feel horrible it just makes me feel like bad. The shit is cringe, kind of. It's cringe. It's dirty. And I don't know. Sometimes I get home at night, I'm alone, and I feel uncomfortable. And I want to feel good, so what helps you do that? Jacking off. But that's okay, man. I've been hitting a few meetings recently. That's been good. Trying to take care of myself, which is all we can do. And if that's what you're doing, I've been jacking off. All right. We had a couple people call, though, about, is it okay for your brother to teach you masturbation? We had a fella call in a few weeks ago that his brother had taught him how to do it. Had taught him how to work that wand, you know what I'm saying? Had taught him how to hog that wart, baby. Had taught him how to door that griffin, you know what I'm talking about? Full slithering. This fella's brother had taught him how to yerk off. Yerk off. But, and is that okay? And I thought it was interesting because it takes me to a tribal place where, at least if your brother or father teaches you to masturbate, then at least it feels like it's okay. It's normalized. Whereas if you're secretly doing it behind a big rock in the desert or something, or, if your cousin comes over and he's, and he leaves a nudie mag out or something, and then you doing it, you yerking off, then that might not be good. Or if you learn it from like a crazy guy at school, somebody sneaks into the schoolhouse one day, during recess, and and just tells everybody about jerking off, and then runs out, and dies in a house fire or something. That ain't cool, because then you might feel ashamed every time somebody lights a match. You might, skeet out a little, or your penis might belch a little or burp a little seed. But anyway, man, what I'm telling you is that people responded to that, to the brother masturbation. Is that okay? Let's hear what they had to say. Here we go.
Bro, this is to your question. This is Tristan.
What's up, Tristan? Good to hear you, dude. And it's you sound like a nice guy, brother. And we're happy you're alive, baby. Onward.
This is to your question about if your brother should ever teach you to masturbate. And I say, hell nah, bro. Hell nah.
Okay. Well, you might not be, everybody's allowed to have an opinion, and I don't know. I don't know what the world thinks.
I think that's outrageous.
Oh, come on, bro.
But I do appreciate you.
Gang, baby, same, man. All right, let's get another one right here. Here we go.
Hi, Theo. I am just calling in because I was listening to your episode about brothers teaching each other to jerk off.
Okay, it was not a full episode, madam. It's a conversation. And it's a great conversation. It's really important. Who do you want teaching your son to jerk off? Huh? It's a great question. Do you want their brother, someone who loves them and cares about them and has an effect on them and has a way that they look up to them to teach them? Or do you want some miscreant out there at the milk shop? Huh? You want some guy who's just been working at the grocery for a half hour. You want that guy teaching your kid to math? You know what I'm saying? Who do you want teaching him? Who do you want? You want one of his school buddy? You want a little Eric? You want Eric teaching him? Eric's little crazy ass, huh? Who don't wear no shoelaces in his boots? You want him teaching him? Onward.
And I think you need a little female perspective. So not only is it the brother's responsibility to teach the brother, I think it's the sister's responsibility to teach the sister. That's how it went in my family. I'm not going to get into details because I know there's a lot of creeps that listen to this podcast.
Yes, there are.
But it goes for the women too.
Gang, gang, baby. That thing. You know. So look, I'm saying this stuff is more popular than you think, obviously. Here we had one more call about it. Here we go.
Theo, no.
And there you go. That lady was really adamant about it, man. That's really, really adamant about it. All right, lastly, we had advice that came in for Tyrell. Tyrell had this question last week.
Hey, Theo Vaughn. This is Tyrell. I'm just driving home back to California, and I was listening to your podcast. Thought I'd get some stuff off my chest. You know, I've been single for quite some time now. Haven't been having sex in the last, 2 years, and I just need some advice, man, on how do I get back in the game? How do I, get my willy wet, if you will?
And I think it's it's a simple question, honestly, Tyrell. And we have a couple of questions, a couple of options for you.
Yo, this is Gatlin Whitney out of Salt Lake City, Utah.
Gatlin, baby. And that's a gun name. You know that. We used to have twins bus out there in Folsom, Louisiana, named Bow and Arrow, I remember. And that's weapon. That's weaponry.
Gang, brother. I was calling about that. The guy from last week on in saying he wasn't getting any ladies.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of had that same issue for a while. And what I figured out is what you got to do is get down to the gym. It's going to run you about $10.99 plus your convenience fee. But what you're going to do, you're going to get real comfortable in that gym. You're going to work on the body. But not only that, you're going to see all them fancy females there. And then you start making small talk. Oh, how long are you going to work on this machine? Can I use it after you? Can you come grab me when... And then they're familiar with you.
Mm-hmm.
They become friends with you. You start talking. 2 months goes by, and you between them sheets knocking poop.
Damn, there you go. Friends fuck each other. And I hate to say that out loud, but it's true. And it has been true for a long time. Let's take one more suggestion here for Tyrell.
What up, Theo? I got some advice for your boy Tyrell about his drought. Boy needs to just keep swiping right. You know, I had a wise man once say, if you're ever going through a drought with the women, you just throw down the first ugly one that's down, and that snaps the streak.
There you go. You could try to hook up, with a lady that you're not attracted to, maybe. It just might start that energy going, Obviously, you want to treat her well and, be realistic with her, Just let her know it's for sex only or, that you're just not, because sometimes you don't want to get somebody's hopes up if you can keep them down, if you can keep somebody's hopes down. I mean, fucking my shoulders hurt from keeping my hopes up, baby. I know that. They are sore. All right. I appreciate you guys, man. I want to say thank you for being a part of just of my life and week and of my time and for caring about my life. And caring about the lives of people that call into this show. And if you're out there struggling with something, you're going through a tough time, it's normal. Everybody is, I mean, even though sometimes I wake up and life's chosen you again, it's tough. It's tough to say, all right, I'm going to play, I'm going to move, I'm going to get going again. I'm going to give it another shot. But you can do it. You can do it. And we don't give up. That's what we don't do. And And just if you're going through something, man, I love you. You know, or woman, I love you. And you love you too. You love you too. Don't forget that. There's a part of you inside of you that absolutely loves you. That loves you. There is a part of you inside of you that absolutely loves you. And that's true. And I believe that. And there's a part of me inside of me that absolutely loves me. And I got to try and hear that voice more. Because that's a powerful voice. But you guys be good to yourselves, man. You deserve it. And thank you for hitting the hotline, 985-664-9503. I'm excited about the new tour dates. Thank you so much for your support. And you know what it is. Let's go out like we came in, baby. Gang. Close that out. Gang, baby. You guys be good to yourselves. We got the new bobbleheads. If you want to grab them, they're available out there. Theo Von store. Tickets, get them only at theovon.com/TOUR. Want to make sure you don't get swindled. And that's it. You know, that's it for this week. We're doing our best. You're doing your best. And that is a lot sometimes. That is enough. And you guys be good to yourselves, baby gang.